As we head into picks and bans, my advice to Team Dignitas, I don't care if you pick the same team or a completely different team, it's the play style that has to change.
I will say the Jing kind of put them in an awkward situation because you don't have that guaranteed follow-up damage off of FrostiaK's early aggression and invades, right? Where a mage, they have big circles, right? It's like boom, right? You have to rely on ShadowNightmare being in a position because a Scylla, a Raijin, all these people can fire their damage over walls and still be relatively safe, whereas ShadowNightmare has to dive in with FrostiaK, and that might be one of the reasons that we're seeing him play a little bit more passive, that he doesn't want to put himself in a position to get picked up by Panthera.
Yeah, you know, I actually, thinking back at that does feel very... on her, you
can it's still the same thing, though, that like Dignitas had to make a choice to protect something earlier.
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, I don't think it was the composition's problem, but like you said, if you're going to make the invasion like FrostiaK was, Jing probably a weird choice. I think even an oddball pick like Rom has the artillery strikes.
Yeah,
right?
you could try and play for late game, which is I'm assuming what Dig had in their mind is that they were gonna be, okay, we have Jing we have Chronos, let's play for the late game. You know, we have these three really strong frontliners in the Erlang, Shen, and FrostiaK if he goes into more of a tanky build, but they weren't able to hold out until then, and they needed to realize that before. But Suntouch back on his Freya here, so he's going to be, I think, a little bit more comfortable. Not that his Chronos was bad, I just think Freya is a little bit more of a hyper carry, and I think it's something he's more comfortable with.
Yeah, Chronos, and that's the thing. Nobody on Dignitas, outside of that, I think FrostiaK made some curious choices, but later on, it was the lack of choices. Nobody on Dignitas played poorly. Nobody on Dignitas played. That's my problem. There wasn't any fights.
I mean, it was shot calling. It was shot calling that Dignitas lacked there, not individual mechanics or players. Thor, though, going to go over to adapting. This is just like his Kuang, this is probably his second scariest character. Actually, I can't even say that because then I'll be like, oh, well, his Fenrir is actually his really other scariest character. But he is very strong on this god, and I don't expect him to play a slow-paced game. I expect adapting to be all over this map, and there is so much damage in this core, too.
Yeah, when it comes to the Kuang, it's really the adapting show. He wants to do it by himself.
Look at the damage on this team.
When it comes to the Thor's going to set up Raijin and Chronos and Bacchus, and every single character on this team has tons of damage.
And CC, right?
Yeah.
Bacchus has the belly flop stun, Intoxicate. Thor's got 2 stuns. Chronos has a stun. Also very mobile, obviously, with Accelerate, very hard to lock down.
This time around, Team Dignitas' mid hunter will be the On-Her. Now, I personally just prefer the On-Her over the Jing for mid. I think he has a couple more options when it comes to dealing with pressure and exerting pressure.
He's also just better early, right? His base stats, his base damage, his abilities hit harder, right? Where Jing is like, I have crit on my 2, and it's really strong when I have a crit item, which doesn't happen until late game.
And this is also something that we've seen ShadowNightmare play and excel with. Shadow does well, like we saw FrostiaK go in. Jing didn't really have any tools to go help him on that speed buff. On her, on the other hand, we saw Nulissa earlier. He'll just sit in that corridor and launch the ultimate right through the walls.
Also, he's on Susanoo now, which is definitely more of a god with... Obviously, Fenrir has high mobility, but Susanoo's a little bit slipperier, but
that's a rough word.
He can get in and out of fights much easier than a Fenrir can.
Oh, yeah.
Just so much mobility, and especially when he has the speed buff.
That said, Dimi's going to play Amaterasu, and this is a choice that is not top 1, 2, or 3 for Dimi, but when Dimi takes this Amaterasu out, it's, in my opinion, one of his scarier gods. In fact, I've often questioned why we don't see even more of it. Dimi resorts to the tier when he wants to be aggressive, and some other choices when he wants to be defensive, but this Amaterasu comes out usually in tandem with the Thor, and it just winds up being so powerful.
Well, it's really about pressure, right? And Amaterasu has 0 pressure in the early game. Almost every other warrior is going to be able to beat her. She has good matchups against Guardians, because Guardians don't really have that same clear early. They don't have the same amount of damage coming out of the enhance. They don't have that option to heal up with the Death's Toll. But for Amaterasu, right, this is entirely safe, right? Even if he's going to get bullied in lane, because you have the Thor, you have the Raijin, you have the Bacchus, you have all this damage in the early game, that Dimi doesn't really have to worry about if he's pushed to his own tower.
Yeah, he's just gonna hang out and pretty much expect that pressure, especially going up against Ducky on the Raven. And FrostiaK, I will see if Dignitas want to pay attention to this right side lane, as some teams like to when there's an Amaterasu involved.
And FrostiaK gonna need to get off to a better start this game. We do see Blink online for BigManTingz though here. looking to go a little bit more aggressive this time on this Kumbhakarna. Didn't really talk about him too much, but has really good matchups against Panthera's lineup. Obviously, multiple channeled spells that he's going to be able to interrupt with that mez.
And also just a strong setup for the damage of the ShadowNightmare's ultimate, as well as whatever Suntouch wants to toss that way. And of course, getting knocked all the way up into another knock-up from FrostiaK is never fun.
Look at how slow this team was to lane. BigManTingz also very low, and iRaffer's going to set up a belch here. I thought he was going to flop, but just playing a little bit safer. And he's actually intercepting Suntouch's pulse here because he doesn't want Suntouch to clear this wave. He wants him to lose all the gold to the tower shots.
Small thing to note this time around, right side, normal clear. Neither team really afraid of the invade, so everybody just goes back to their old
Suntouch just walked into that. That was unfortunate. Now he's going to get knocked up for it. And it's just continuous pressure. Yeah, Suntouch, big mistake there. Walks straight into the back line of his wave as emilitoo fires the time stop, and he was just a little bit too slow to react, and it sets up iRaffer to just keep putting this pressure on and keep him under tower, keep him losing gold, keep him losing experience.
Yeah, these first couple of waves, I'd say the first 5 to 6 waves for Freya are the most difficult thing, the most difficult part of the game for her, obviously, as Shield and Excel at the wave clear, but also perhaps some of the most important, because it's going to set up not only the gold that you're going to lose if you're under tower, but it's also going to set up the enemy team looking at your tendencies, right? Suntouch, the directions he's moving, the different things he's doing to avoid some of the poke that's coming out from the Chronos. Panthera are taking note, and they will punish him just like we saw the jump and the belly flop onto Sunny when he proved that he would stand up here and tank these minions.
They are doing a good job, though, and Freya is okay with losing gold in this situation.
She's supposed to.
She's expected to. It's really about the items, right? When is she going to get the boots and Fatalis online? Once she has her 2 core items, she can start to be effective in team fights. Once she has her 3 core items, that's when she starts to become scary. We see the main options being, obviously boots are going to be in there, but then there's either Fatalis, Demonic Grip, and Bancroft. You just need 2 of those 3.
And it's very interesting to see which players go which direction. Bancroft allows you to really be more of a battle mage because you're healing up as you go for it. Demo Grip tends to give you a little bit more damage by way of penetration, and Fatalis lets you, well, chase the hell out of somebody.
Fatalis is pretty crucial, though. I would say Fatalis.
That's the Freya
Boots
item.
Fatalis, right? And then I guess it's between Demonic and Bancrofts. But Panthera are the ones here being aggressive this time. Speed buff going to be spawning here in about a minute, and adapting's 5. It looks like he's trying to set up for something in this area. He does have his ultimate online, and he could look for this Robin because Ducky has been poked out here.
Yeah, adapting, staying local. Doesn't want to use the ultimate. Hiding in the wings. Just going to come in the wave of force.
This is an invade.
He's waiting for the, exactly. He's waiting for the blue buff.
And it's going to be spawning. Speed first here, and Susanos made the rotation. And adapting actually might be giving it up. No, he still wants to go aggressive, and he's just trying to get into his spot. This is him setting up for an ult position, and he is going to find FrostiaK into the jungle and finds a fair amount of poke here, and FrostiaK slow to respond, and Yammyn outplayed there. Actually dashes towards, or thunder crashes towards FrostiaK as FrostiaK escapes away from him.
Ducky and Shadow trying to defend the speed buff unsuccessfully, but adapting gets it and takes to the sky.
Out. And Dimi knows this too. Just going to be a clean speed buff there, and that was just FrostiaK walking into the fire elementals, not aware that adapting was waiting for him, and he just gets poked a little bit too much to be able to contest that buff.
Small pressure pushed into big-time objectives. That's Panthera's entire game.
And because of that, Dig actually responds on the right-hand side, rotating everyone over, which opens up that red buff to be stolen away by Suntouch. Oh, no, it was picked up by Suntouch. Excuse me. I just saw emilitoo walk right over the red buff as it was dead, and I thought it was it went his way.
Interesting choice to put the red buff on Freya, especially this early. Freya scales better early game. Well, Freya scales better in general with attack speed than power, and early on her is going to really be the one exerting force. So I know Suntouch tends to be the hard carry for this team, but just seems very interesting not to give the on her the red buff early.
I think this is more of a, we need Freya to stay alive in this lane by herself, and ShadowNightmare and BigManTingz probably want to set up for kills with them, right? Because you don't want to have Big Man have to babysit Suntouch the whole time, and with the red buff, it's going to make the laning phase a lot easier for him.
That makes a lot of sense. Just Suntouch inching himself up towards emilitoo. Obviously, Freya not going to compete with Chronos as far as wave clear is concerned anytime soon, but just getting a little bit more to the conversation. With that in mind, what Freya lacks in the gold in the matchup, she's actually, Suntouch is ahead by about half a level.
Oh. little bit surprising there, and yeah, we just see emilitoo hitting 7 there, so... And that's simply because Suntouch lost so much gold under that tower. When tower hits a minion, you don't get any gold from it, but you still get the experience, so he was able to not miss any waves, and emilitoo did have a couple rotations while Suntouch decided to farm up instead.
A lot of times we see these mid-on-hers go Transcendence, allowing them to be this sort of mid-game real mage player. A Pillar Impale into an ultimate winds up being almost 100-0. Instead, ShadowNightmare going the boxing build that we see at a lot of North American hunters. This rush into the Iqval.
Boots Iqval, and it's just a lot of power early on, right? The 40 from the Warrior Tabi into a potential 60 or a potential 30 stolen away from someone else, and it makes it a really good matchup against this Thor specifically. Obviously, Thor going to be knockback and knock-up immune with the Berserker's Barrage, so he may not get that Impale stun, but still aggression.
BigManTingz gets jumped on after the double tap. Won't be a kill for Panthera, but that's a lot of poke. And the other way, ShadowNightmare starts it off by taking down iRaffer.
Dimi actually make the rotation as well. BigManTingz going to be stunned under tower here, still has his passive. And Yammyn and Dimi going to have to try and find these basics, but he's under tower. Here comes Adapting. The hammer's off the mark though. emilitoo still cleans up, looping around the backside, and Dimi finds Tingz.
ShadowNightmare was safe until emilitoo makes that dastardly play. Where is a Chronos coming from around your tier 1 tower at 6 minutes in the game? That just doesn't happen. Well played by the Panthera. Chronos making the rotation from the long lane to take out ShadowNightmare. But it really was Mr. ShadowNightmare himself that started that one off of a missed opportunity from Panthera.
And then just out of nowhere, Adapting comes crashing down, helps secure those 2 kills for Panthera. Really good job on Dignitas there, abusing iRaffer, recognizing that he had flopped. I'm not sure if his meditation was down, but iRaffer actually was not able to use it at the very least in the middle of that fight.
And just giving credit to the heavy mechanics of the Thor play, Adapting the circle for Anvil of Dawn comes right down, and the 2 players are on the edge of it. It's important that both players get stunned, 1 to confirm the kill onto the low player, and 2 to make sure that the high player can't actually get involved. So Adapting finding a double stun instead of just landing on the kill target, very important, small play.
And now a 2K lead for Adapting and the rest of the Panthera boys here. Adapting an ultimate online right now, and that was his first ultimate. I'm a little bit surprised it took him 6.5 minutes to set up a gank here, but really Panthera seemed to be playing this very slow-paced game, maybe kind of getting beat by Paradigm in the day before there kind of rattled them.
Possibly. I'll have to think about that.
I mean, just playing a safer game, right?
It's
not
definitely
overexerting yourself.
Absolutely. Right there, though, I think that's the difference between the Thor play and the Kuang play. Adapting goes for the single target kill on the Kuang and takes out the enemy in game number 1. But on the Thor, Adapting gets a stun and hammers off of the tower because he knows emilitoo's going to come from around the back. He sets up the team more so on Thor, whereas Kuang, that's really the Adapting
I'm just going to kill everyone.
Yeah,
right?
that's where we get to see
what that Kuang is.
Show.
Stolen blue buff and a quick hammer out, finds himself in front of Ducky, and he's going to be forced to ult as well as FrostiaK made the rotation. He's coming back down. He's
coming right back down. Oh, I really expect him to, Adonis. There's a stun dodged out by Dimi, and Adapting doesn't. Opts to go the safe way because he sees the rotation of BigManTingz.
Root?
The support comes through, finds the root, but that's it.
And everyone's disengaging. FrostiaK blinks into the tower, but he's going to get picked up by the tower shot. And once again, the miscommunication between FrostiaK and the rest of his team. Everyone else is backing out. FrostiaK tries to dive 1 versus 2, and it does not go his way.
iRaffer tries to find the knock-up onto the Robin. Can't, though. And now 3 players, and there's the mid lane. Yammyn comes from the other direction, taking out Ducky.
And just unsafe rotations. Once again, Dignitas, they don't back into their own tower line. They don't have the wards to be rotating in the jungle just unannounced there. And iRaffer and Yammyn abuse it. I mean, Dignitas... they seem to forget about the rest of the map, right? They'll have a single fight and they ignore everything else. They have 0 ward coverage in the right side of the map. 0. There's not a single one. And then they just walk straight into iRaffer and Yammyn.
Panthera are also really good at chasing you into their other teammates.
Yes.
iRaffer jumps on Ducky. Why would you do that? I'm just going to run into my own jungle where there's an enemy Raijin waiting in an ultimate.
Panthera here also able to get this Gold Fury uncontested, extending their lead to 4,500. And once again, kind of this slow bleed. I will say Dignitas are doing a much better job of taking fights, though.
Exactly.
They just need to kind of be on the same page when they take these fights.
Exactly. I'm already happier with Dignitas's play here, which is Odd to say, as Fire Giant just spawns at 10 minutes and we see our team Dignitas down 5,000 gold, but they're fighting into it. They're making an attempt, and I don't think you can say the same about last game.
I will say that Dimi just had a 4-level lead on a soul laner at 10 minutes. That is absolutely brutal. And here's the thing, right? It's not even like Ducky's behind. 10 minutes in level 11, that's okay, right? Maybe you've missed a little bit of farm. It's Dimi 10 minutes in level 14. That's what's insane. 2-0-2.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be there. He's also 1,500 gold above his opposition.
What the hell happened in this soul lane? I guess it's just everything stripped away, added up over the last 2 spawns.
That's what it is. It's all of the invades that we saw on the right side. The blue buff adapting stole. Dimi was there local for the share credit as well, and that really just allows that sort of the literal snowball.
This still feels insane, right? Because you're a Robin into an Amaterasu 10 minutes in. Obviously, there's been 2 invades, but you've only been down 1 Gold Fury. I'm really surprised. I wasn't really paying the best attention to this lane to see how it kind of spiraled this far out of control, but that is not a good look in a lane where the Robin's supposed to be very dominant up until 8 or 9.
Especially with just 1 death. I mean, right, if the decision is to
if he's dead like 6 times, right? You're like, okay, he's 1,500 gold behind. Why isn't he 3K behind?
It's just Panthera fighting these small. Last time it was about the slow bleed. This time it's a little bit quicker, but they're finding all the little things here and there. Again, the invade. There's no way that Robin can handle that.
It's adapting's blue buff, right? And you can see the wards there as well. And Dignitas actually placing more aggressive wards on the right-hand side now, although completely barred on the left. There are no Gold Fury spawning, though, for, 3 minutes, so they don't have to worry too much about that getting snuck away.
And Freya's just going to stand on her front
adapting.
porch.
He avoided all wards, I think, there. BigManTingz and FrostiaK, though. Find him in the jungle and take a little bit of damage for it.
The double tap. That's always fun.
Is Shadow dead?
No, he'll be fine. Interesting use of the ultimate from Yammyn.
Oh, look at this. Adapting actually looping around, and it's a big group up by both teams. 3 members from Dignitas here, but with FrostiaK, BigManTingz poked out, I don't think they're going to be able to fight this, and Panthera know it. With Tingz back, it's just a full push into this tower.
Well, Robin's going to make the rotation. ShadowNightmare, I think, if he finds a pin, can really focus a single player. That's what's going to be adapting. You can see Ducky coming in. Well played by Team Dignitas, but it might not be enough. It all depends on how aggressive Adapting's feeling.
And Dimi missed his stun, and there it is, a 3-man mez. Here comes Ducky as well. This is their stand. Dignitas focusing iRaffer right now, but the jump out from ShadowNightmare, and iRaffer does manage to escape here unscathed.
And the Panthera's not going to get the tower. That's the important part. I spent a lot of time chastising Dignitas for not taking these fights. These are the fights. You're not going to win them, but you're not going to lose them.
Trouble for
Panthera
Ducky.
now focusing Ducky.
Oh no, look at this. emilitoo finds a rewind in the backline, adapting here as well, but 3 members of Dignitas very low. Need to be careful in their positioning. Panthera plays it safe though, once again, just takes the tier 1.
And again, this sounds odd, Kevin, because Dignitas just watched their tier 1 tower go down, but correction, they didn't just watch, they fought into it. I am immediately happier with that outcome because Panthera had to earn that tower. They had to use ultimates, they had to use a tactic coming around from the backside and flanking. Panthera earned the tier 1 tower, as opposed to last game, Dignitas just kind of handed everything to them.
And Panthera had to burn a bunch of relics there. And it was really the timing on Panthera, that aggression, that was so intelligent because all of their players had both of their relics online, whereas Dignitas, you can see, still 2 members level 11 didn't have that second relic. And I'm pretty sure, I think Suntouch just bought his second as well after that tower got taken. I'm not exactly sure, though.
Yeah, it was just about that. And, it's already 6,000 gold of a lead, almost 7,000 for Panthera. And Dignitas now, again, they have more of a footing despite the deficit. Next Gold Fury fight, I think we see Dignitas really rear their head and combat with Panthera.
I mean, they just can't give up more. That's the thing. Their entire right side jungle has belonged to Adapting and Dimi this entire game. And Adapting has 2 items online, both the Void Shield as well as the Jotun's Wrath, whereas only Shifter Shield online for FrostiaK right now. Same thing that we saw Twig go into, interestingly enough.
Yeah, Shifter Shield is sort of the more aggressive version of Void Shield in my eyes. Void Shield is more defensive and will help out the team. You get a little bit of penetration, but you get more power from the Shifter Shield, and it helps out the team a little bit less. So the Susano, FrostiaK, really looking to make these plays for himself, whereas Adapting Thor, one more time, looking to really set up for the team.
Gold Fury going to be pulled by Panthera in the meantime. Freya not in position and Adapting on zone duty. Finds 2 walled off here. FrostiaK trying to make the rotation in. Typhoon is available, and all of Panthera are grouped.
Gold Fury is below half HP. You can
fight.
see a flank coming out from Dignitas. It's been leashed. Panthera now looking for the team fight. Adapting, nowhere to be seen. Or there it is, drops the wall, and Suntouch in trouble, but the Sanctuary sends everybody a different direction. Ducky's forced to ult over the wall.
Adapting's going
Not
for
gonna
him.
follow.
He's got to come down now, though. Thor in the sky. He's going to be off the mark, straight into the knockup here. FrostiaK can't confirm the kill, but he's still going to be chasing in 1 versus 4, trying to find the kill. There's Tingz. There's so much attention onto Adapting right now, as the rest of Dig is just getting wiped one at a time.
And Adapting doesn't even fall down. The whole time Suntouch is fighting the mid laner, finally takes out Yammyn, but the rest of his team is falling down as well. 3 players dead on the side of Team Dignitas. Panthera trade their mid laner for that and the Gold Fury.
And just the extension of the lead continues. Panthera just slow and steady gains. There's no big drop-off. They didn't, they haven't wiped a team into a Gold Fury or wiped a team into all these towers or Gold Furies. It's just like we get one thing and we get an extra kill while doing it.
But even still, Panthera they're forced to fight. They're forced to play this game. Again, going back to the first game, and I just want to focus on the adjustments Dignitas are making. They don't look scared this game. They're just getting beat. Panthera doesn't even go for the Gold Fury last game. I mean, in that situation, they're just casually taking towers. Dignitas are now making Panthera earn and fight their way to a victory, which early in the season, when you're a team like Dignitas going up against the #1 team in the world, that's acceptable is a tough word to say, but where else do you expect to be?
Here's the thing too, right, is everyone's coming to LAN, and all these teams are only facing off against each other once in the best of 2 set throughout these next 4 weeks. So it's really about, where are we really in the standings, right? This is the best team in the world. How close are we to them? And Dignitas still pretty far off, but they have an entire month, and then depending on which land they come to, on a couple extra weeks there to prepare, to make adjustments, and figure out what they need to work on. This is a new, in essence, a new team. ShadowNightmare, FrostiaK still there. BigManTingz, Ducky, new to the lineup. Ducky, an SPL rookie. BigManTingz only having played 1 split, and Suntouch, while he's a veteran, he is new to the Hunter role.
Right, and anytime you make that shake up, you're going to have to go back and learn some of your fundamentals and your basics a little bit, and that's what we see out of Dignitas. Ducky, nice kick to avoid the stun, and really when it comes down to it, Kevin, is Dignitas, they have to solidify where are they, like you were talking about, and really just get ready for the
that
land.
wall. Forced to ult here, and actually a jump forward from iRaffer as well. I thought Suntouch was about to get deleted.
Everybody mixed up here at the right side
FrostiaK
jungle.
just pull Dimi to him?
Yeah.
What in the world? The decision making on that kid.
Not going to be the good one this time around. Ducky gets stunned. Ducky gets double tapped, and Ducky gets chased. Dimi going to go right onto the tower. Nice pillar and payoff from ShadowNightmare, but he's punished immediately for it. Yammyn takes him down. There's the revenge kill.
I think this is just going to start to be the snowball like game 1 was. Panthera now ahead over 11,000 in gold before that tower, now 13K. They're charging up mid lane. 2 exposed Phoenixes right now that they have options for, and it's going to be up to 3 members of Dig to try and stop it.
Much better fight on the team Dignitas this time around. Double tapped, almost takes out BigManTingz. Still alive for the moment. If Yammyn has anything to say about it, might be different. He's down and he's sleepy, and a couple of basics out of Emil will confirm it. And Emil takes out BigManTingz. Down goes the Phoenix, and you've got 2 dead on the side of Dignitas. Only Yammyn to fall for Panthera.
That was almost a good fight for Dignitas, able to take out Yammyn, as well as that Phoenix taking so long to get ticked down. Emilitoo, though, just no hesitation, straight into the final Phoenix, finds the kill onto FrostiaK, and just once again, these players from Dignitas just getting picked off one at a time. There was a couple members of Panthera low there, just Dig not able to clean up because they're so far behind.
Couple of members of Panthera low. Not a single guy down low enough to get killed except for Yammyn. Target prioritization is very important. Split DPS in the middle of a hectic team fight like that can be very rough, but Emilitoo should be a prime target. Suntouch is targeting Yammyn and Emilitoo. Raijin is the first target, but I only really see Suntouch going on these targets.
I mean, it's hard though, right? Because Dig, so against a Chronos, you need to have burst damage, and FrostiaK's level 13, Suntouch is level 16, and he's a Freya, right? Freya's not really burst per se, right? It's not like 2 abilities, you're dead in 2 seconds. It's like, I'm going to kill you over 6 seconds with a lot of damage, but it comes out, you know, kind of more a little bit over time. And it's like, who is going to do enough damage to emilitoo to kill him before he can get that rewind off?
It's got to be the combination of ShadowNightmare and Sunny.
But it's like, it's still very hard for ShadowNightmare to get in the middle of those fights. Intoxicate comes out by iRaffer, and then Shell and Meditation as well.
Well, ShadowNightmare is also the one getting jumped on most of the time, and Panthera playing it smart. I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. They recognize the fact that if ShadowNightmare and Suntouch target the same person, that person is probably dead.
It's very funny seeing the different dynamic between HFM and Panthera, at least in this game, because Panthera, despite being the best team in the world and being a top 3 in Europe, they are very safe in everything they do. They close out everything very intelligently. They don't overextend. Whereas you look at teams like Hungry for More and Variety and Panda like are the exact opposite, right? They have their lead and they try and force stuff that maybe they shouldn't sometimes. And while that does pay off a lot of times where they get these small leads into massive leads, it also doesn't always work and they develop a couple bad habits. And it's just interesting seeing that team that's also a top 3 in Europe that just does too much, and Panthera almost holds back too much.
I think if we go all the way back and watch Panthera, old Panthera pre-Epsilon VODs, we might see the same thing. Hungry for More has been a top team for a couple of months. Panthera's been doing it for years, quite literally now. So as they make their final push, or what could be their final push, excuse me, Yammyn's going to push Ducky into the ground just very easily, and adapting takes to the sky, wanting to target probably Shadow, but Shadow feels it, jumps away. Instead it'll be FrostiaK. iRaffer takes the kill with the Intoxicate. Panthera have 3 players left defending the base they want to conquer.
I mean, this is going to be game here unless something crazy happens. ShadowNightmare can't even make it back to the fountain. And these walls from adapting have been so good. Suntouch able to stay alive. Actually, might find a return kill, but the Meditation going to keep adapting health, and he jukes out one of the hits. And that would have been the killer shot too. Suntouch trying to get his 2nd kill on board. Just shy. Just shy. And emilitoo wants to end or fight? I can't tell.
emilitoo wants to fight. All Phoenix is down. Chaos Titan, or rather Order Titan, being aggressed on Panthera. They took number 1 in 24 minutes, and it was a shutout. Number 2, well, the Titan's not dead yet. Here's the response from Team Dignitas. Jumping into the middle of his team is Ducky. Can't find it. Everyone's stunned by emilitoo. He's taking down 1. He's taking down 2. And before he can finish, the Titan falls down. 22 minutes on the clock.
That was dominating. That was complete domination, very similar to what we saw from Hungry for More today as well. I mean, this is these teams have come out and really established themselves. Dig has a lot to work on, and I think they definitely realize that now.
And you know what? It's funny, especially looking at the time clock. I liked Team Dignitas better in game number 2, where they lost 2 minutes earlier, than when they got shut out in game number 1.
I mean, it was just kind of questionable decisions once again from a couple players, you know, diving in. FrostiaK had that really weird pull where he was, you know, on 10% health and actually pulls Dimi into him. Dimmy's just kills him right away, right? He's like, what are you doing, bro? And FrostiaK didn't have his escape options up at the time.
That one I won't defend. But I did like some of they made the decisions. Game number 1, there just wasn't many counterplays, and that kind of rocked.
And it might be this Hunter mid, right? Hunter mids work, but the issue is we're not seeing a lot of pressure. I wasn't paying attention to the damage charts there. I'm not exactly sure everyone was out, but I didn't really see ShadowNightmare outside of the 1 kill where they counter-engaged on iRaffer in the mid. I didn't really see him make any impact into the game where, you know, you put him on his Giannis, right, and he's going to be making some of the biggest plays, you know, that you can see in Smite.
Yeah, again, just the Hunter mid not working out too well for the guys on Team Dignitas, but the Hunter in the long lane certainly worked out for Panthera. emilitoo again shines in game number 2, this time on the Chronos, so doing a little bit of switch up himself.
This one was insane, right? Because adapting comes down in the middle and just completely distracts all of Dignitas. And the match has just begun. We're 6 minutes in, and emilitoo's already picking up a kill, diving behind the tier 1.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people are going to look at, wow, the adapting ultimate right onto the tower, but that doesn't go the kill. That kill doesn't happen without emilitoo. And I think that winds up happening a lot of the time.
Panthera, looking scary, right? It's going to be hard for other teams to kind of combat them. And, I mean, they're going to be saving strategies, too. This is a team, I think, with a very deep playbook that I don't think very many players have seen.
If we don't count picks and bans, those 2 games were shorter than game number 1 Panthera played yesterday combined. So
Yeah, that was
Panthera.
pretty, the 55. What is 55 minutes bloodbath?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Little bit different story this time around. And we've got some more action coming for you next. Stay tuned. We'll be back with some more SPL.